Good evening, Hive Commanders. Zaroff here from Z85 Gaming, and today I bring you part 2 of the state of the Tyranids, and tonight we're going to be focusing on elites. I wish I would have done this in my first video, Battlescribe. The Tyranid Codex has been out for a while, so Battlescribe is pretty, I would say, reliable. So I'm just going to use Battlescribe, and I have the book with me here in case I need to reference something, but I figured this would be a more enjoyable, easier on the eyes experience, and I like the fact that I can just hover over these models and they give us things. But without further ado, we're going to talk about elites. We know with Tyranids, we're going to have I'm going to have a conclusionary video that talks about what overall my thoughts with taking everything into consideration and what overall needs to happen to the army. As these videos here are the main, we're going through each unit in the codex currently at present. And we'll even discuss Forge World models as they're relevant. I'm not going to discuss like the Bio Titan or we will talk about the Harridan, but I'm not going to talk about the Bio Titan because that's just kind of obscene. You'll never see that in a tabletop game. I don't even think you could play it. I think it's 2,060 points at last check. But anyway, we're going to talk about all the units that you may see. So today's elites, we're going to start off with one of my favorite units in the whole entire Tyranid Codex lore-wise, the Lictor / Death Leaper. So we're gonna look at the rules here for the Death Leaper, and this will cover my opinion for Lictors too. We're gonna skip by that and save time. But essentially, Death Leaper is a named Lictor, and then my biggest beef with Lictors right now in Death Leaper is they don't live up to what they do in the lore. They're supposed to be these hidden hunter, which obviously they have an ability called hidden hunter, but this hidden assassin, kind of like the Imperium assassins, where they just pop up out of nowhere and do massive damage, and then they probably die, right after that. Now, the current state of lictors, they're laughably bad at best, and we're just gonna go through the rules real quick. Death Leaper, if you're gonna take a lictor, and you really want it to have some success with it, I would just go with a regular Death Leaper. Yeah, I know you can only take one because he's a named character, but some interesting rule conundrums here. This wasn't in the FAQ, but the Lictor has a superior chameleonic skin ability, and he has straight up -2 from hit rolls. And this is from shots and close combat. So, still waiting on FAQ, but as it stands, I think this overrides the -1, +1, or -1. This isn't the +1, -1 rule. You can only manipulate it once. Was designed for people that had stacking abilities, like, oh, I have +1 to hit because of this aura, and then I have +1 to hit because of this stratagem, and then I have another +1 to hit because of this warlord trait, if you will. I don't know if that's the case, but that's the purpose of the rule, was to say that that's fine, you have all those pluses, but you're only getting allowed a +1. This here specifically states it's -2. So I think this rule does apply. So it makes the Death Leaper the more survivable of all the lictors. But believe it or not, hit rolls of -2, there's so much volume of fire, this poor guy will get gunned down with relative ease. He has also +2 in armor when he's in cover, so his save goes to a 3-up, and a 3-up just doesn't cut it when you're fighting against weapons that when there's so much volume of fire. But either way, he's great for coming out and charging. He also, when he comes into the battlefield and he charges, he has the ability to re-roll his charge rolls. So he comes out, he needs to be 9 inches away. I think that's a huge disparity. I think lictors and Death Leaper should be to come within 6 inches or 3 inches. We already see some of that going on with Gene Stealer Cult. I believe they can get up to 6 inches away on their cult ambush. So why can't our Death Leaper get that? Why can't he just pop up 6 inches away, more than 6 inches away, so that makes him, on average, he has a 50-50 shot charging, but actually a little bit better because he's got, way better because he's actually got a re-roll on that, so you need a 7 to get into combat. And not to mention, if he's charging in cover or whatever, he's back to a 9 anyway. So I think they need to change that to make it worth taking him. Make it to where he's, uh, can pop up 6 inches out and then he can charge. His weapons and his strength, I don't know what they do with that. Do they increase his strength to strength 8? Or do they increase his weapons or his number of attacks? Because 4 attacks at strength 6 with no rerolls, unless he's attacking the named character that he selects at the beginning of the game, is not that good. I think to make him better, they give him +2 strength on his grasping talons. So it goes to strength 8. It may bump it up in AP to AP -2, give him 2 more attacks, 6 attacks. And also they changed It's After Me to where he gets to reroll all failed hit and wound rolls against any enemy character on that he attacks in there. So it's not just limited to just one, because I'm gonna honestly right now I just nominate a lieutenant, charge it, kill it if I can even get to it, which with so much bubble wrapping, good luck. So I just feel like that he needs a complete rule rework, and I think with a 6-inch, he can come in within 6 inches. That would actually greatly help him use his ability of It's After Me. But same thing with like lictors. I'll pull up a lictor really quickly. Right here, view. But the lictor has weaker. Lictors are just -1 to hit, right? They can still reroll their charges, but again, they have 3 attacks instead of 4, so they have 1 less than a Death Leaper. Strength 6. But they only, and they do have grasping talons. See, I didn't think they had grasping talons, but so I don't know. I feel like you bump lictors up to 5 attacks and Death Leaper up to 6, makes them better, my opinion. Hairspect. Let's move into Hairspect. I was really excited about this model when it first came out. I bought 2 kits because I was like, I'm going to build a Hairspect and I'm going to build Exocrine. And I bought, at the same time they came out with the Malic Scepter and Toxicrine. I'm like, I'm going to build Toxicrine and a Malic Scepter. They're just really cool looking. I bet you they're going to have great rules, because GW wouldn't release models with absolute crap rules and expect, sell them. And lo and behold, three out of the 4 possible builds that you could do out of those kits were absolute crap. And the one being the Exocrine, will cover him in heavy support. And even then, the Exocrine was way overcosted for what it did when they first came out. But at any rate, the Hairspect is a model that I really want to play, but he's just not worth taking. He moves very slow, 7 inches. I get it. He reminds me of a Carnifex, and when we get to Carnifexes, you'll see why. He just has more wounds. He has 5 more wounds than a Carnifex, and he degrades. But he's like a Carnifex in every way. He has double the strength attack, but his claws do D6 damage, opposed to a Carnifex's crushing claws, which I think only do 3 damage. I think we'll check that out. He has a tongue shooting attack thing that's laughable at best, because you only get 1 shot and he hits on a 4. Yeah, 4 up when he's at full thing, but as soon as he gets degraded, it's just, yeah, good luck. It's just a model that's really slow. You can't, if you have to, the first turn you're going to move it and you're going to advance, because it's not going to get a turn 1 charge. You could catapult it with a Swarm Lord. You do move, advance, put Onslaught on it, and then use Swarm Lord ability to catapult. That's the only way to get a turn 1 charge with him and get him into combat right away. But you're committing a lot of resources to make that happen, and your opponent should have enough tools to just delete that guy relatively quick. But I just don't like this model. This model should be Weapon Skill 3, Ballista Skill 3, only because of the purpose he has a Grasping Tongue, and it's such a short range. So I feel like with a shorter range, you should be able to hit more reliably with it. And I think his strength needs to be bumped up to strength 8. Yeah, that would make his Shoveling Claws at strength 16, but who cares? It's a big giant monster that should be happening. His Ravenous Maw his abilities are fine. You bump him up 1 more strength and fix his weapon skill. He's now strength 8, and make him degrade 8, 7, 6. Make him degrade like that. 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 on his ballistic and weapon skills. Make him degrade, and we'll cover degrading and stuff. That's a whole separate thing, we'll be talking about abilities overall, or overall abilities for the army when we get to their war gear and stuff. But make his Ravenous Maw, strength user AP -1. Sure, that's fine. D3 damage. Um, make D3 hit rolls for each attack. So he only has 4 attack space. I think this is a model that needs to be up to 6 attacks. But then now you're rolling 6 D3s for attacks. I think that's fine. This guy is designed to charge in. He's an elite. He needs to be elite. Right now, he's no better than a Carnifex. He's actually worse because he degrades. But he should be doing a lot of damage. He doesn't need an invuln. He doesn't need more toughness. I think he just needs a couple more attacks and a bump in the weapon skill and ballistic skill by 1 each. And this model's perfect. He's got a lot of good things going for him. I like his acid blood. I like his rampacious hunger. So every time he kills a model, he gets a wound back. It's amazing. He can also use his tongue to get another wound back. So this guy is regenerating constantly as he's eating models. It's very fluffy. I like it. The problem is it never works because he never gets into combat. And when he does get into combat, he strikes out every time. Hiveguard. The current MVP in most Tyranid lists is Hiveguard. And I think with 9th edition bumping them up to 50 points a model severely makes them inefficient. I get why GW is raising the points on everything. They were already overcosted, in my opinion, at 43 points a model. You are literally paying for a model that shoots twice at strength 8, ignoring line of sight and cover. AP -2, D3 damage. When I'm shooting this at Space Marines, which is a majority of what you'll be playing against, that have a 3-up armor save, they go up to a 5, and now all Space Marines are going to have at least 2 wounds, and it's D3 damage. So there's a chance that I'm rolling a 1 or a 2, a 1/3 chance that I roll a 1 or a 2, I don't even kill a Space Marine with this gun. And I only get 2 shots. You want to have them at 50 points a model, that's fine, but they need to be like 3 or 4 shots apiece. I know people are like, oh my god, that's overpowered, that's overpowered. No, it's not. Tyranids aren't designed to shoot. Their gun, their range, this gun is perfect, rules as written. Their stat line is perfect, rules as written, but they only have one battlefield role, and that is to shoot. And I'm not going to pay 300 points for a squad of 6 to shoot 12 shots. And then I have to pay 2 CP to shoot them again. And hope that they cannot roll 5s. So, and that's just against their infantry, not even against toughness or 2-up armor save stuff. So, I'm not a fan of the Impaler cannon, or the point cost for what you get out of it. If you want to be 50 points a model, they need to be 3 or 4 shots apiece. Playtest it, figure it out, but I think 3 shots is at least needs to be 3 shots apiece. Everything else about this model is perfect. Love it. If you want to keep them at 2 shots apiece, I get it. You want to reduce the volume of fire. Clearly, you're not paying attention to that for Space Marines, but if you want to reduce volume of fire, keep them at 2 shots, but you need to reduce their point costs significantly. We need points to get other stuff on the field. Lictor, we covered. Malic Scepter, here's the other component to the Malic Scepter. That is the different kit. Never mind. I believe it's Toxicrin and Malic Scepter. Yeah, Toxicrin Malic Scepter kit. Oh boy. This is supposed to be, my take on the Malic Scepter was that it was a souped up, juiced up Zoanthrope, like a big baddie. And he's not. He's a poor man's wannabe Zoanthrope. Rejected. It's like the Tyranid gene pool was like, we tried creating a superior, brain bug, but we failed. But we finally got the Zoanthrope. But yeah, here's the Malic Scepter. It's awful. He has a 4-up invul. Should be a 3. Oh my god, you can't give a monster a big up 3. It's the Zoanthrope. It's the big Zoanthrope. It needs to have a warp field 3-up invul. I don't need to state anymore. Psychic overload ability. This is really interesting. You forfeit all of its psychic powers, and you unleash its basically psychic brain power to create an area of effect that does massive damage, yet it doesn't do any damage. So every unit within 6 inches of the Malic Scepter takes. You roll. Oh, it's within his damage table. So when he's at full strength, he's six units. With every unit that's within 6 inches of him, up to 6, you roll a d6. On a 2+, it deals a mortal wound to that unit. On a 6, it does 3 mortal wounds instead. What is this? what 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 are you doing here, GW? This is a 170 point model that has to march down the battlefield somehow, some way, just to do a mortal wound to up to 6 units that are within 6 inches of him. I can tell you right now in the current meta, if there are 6 units within 6 inches of this brain bug, the bug is dead before it even gets to do this ability. This is a great, the only utility I see in this model right now is it's a great backline defense, as it keeps your opponent, when they deep strike in to assassinate your Hiveguard, they now have to deal with this bug here. But the problem is this bug doesn't dish out enough damage. So they'll deep strike in a unit of like Sanguinary Guard, for example, which happens to me all the time, which is fine, I expect it. But I'm gonna do 1 mortal wound to those Sanguinary Guard out of like 5 or 6, and they each now have, I think they each have 2 wounds apiece. That's not gonna cut it. Uh, I don't know. I think this ability, if you're gonna forfeit all your psychic powers, it needs to be more devastating. It needs to be more damage to all those units within range. It should be like 3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, it's 6 mortal wounds. I don't know. I'm crazy, I guess. I just don't know. You're forfeiting your psychic abilities. Not to mention, I think he can only cast 1 or 2 powers and deny 1. It's not on here. Yeah, he can cast 2, deny 2. It's right there. Jeez. So he'll have smite plus 1 hive. Yeah, that's the thing. Is he can cast 2 powers, but he only has smite plus 1 other power, hive mind power. And I mean, I don't know. You can't. The problem is like it would be cool if you could do psychic overload and not have to forfeit your psychic powers. But it's better to just take his smite plus not warp blast. What is that? Psychic scream, and then which is basically smite, and just do a double smite on your opponent. Then do this psychic overload junk. So they need to change the rule entirely. In fact, I would say psychic overload. You add 6 to his smite test. There you go. He automatically super smites. I don't know, something weird. Make it better. It's not even worth taking. So close combat. He has again 3 attacks, and if he's not degraded, he's hitting on 4. So he does have massive scything talons, and he can reroll 1s to hit. But this is not a bug designed to fight stuff in close combat. What you could do is you could make him 4 attacks and make his weapon skill go to 3, I guess. I don't know. This bug needs a lot of work. Pyrivores, probably the most point efficient for point to point damage. Like they damage a point and they cost a point. Model in the entire codex. They're 28 points a model, and they have multiple things going on for them. I actually like this model where it's at, except for the fact that its weapon skill is 4+. It needs to be a 3. That's a recurring theme, and we'll cover that in the conclusion. You'll see what my analysis is. But it needs to be at a 3+. I like his volatile, so when it dies on a 4, the nearest enemy within 3 inches takes a mortal wound. That's really cool. The acid blood when you're fighting. So the idea is these are suicide units. You charge into stuff. First you barbecue them with that 10-inch flamer. Do some damage, then you charge into them, and even if it's like a Gurlyman, this is the perfect unit to fight Gurlyman, because you fight Gurlyman, you use your Acid Maw, which is pretty powerful. You might do a damage or 2 to Gurlyman, which is amazing, and then Gurlyman's going to pull out that big sword and just delete that whole unit, and you're like, okay, you just deleted 84 points, and now I'm rolling dice to see if you take mortal wounds. And this is I say Gurlyman because he's the centerpiece of a Space Marine army, but any character, you charge into that Indominus captain, he's well equipped to deflate those, but if he fails, you could potentially kill an Indominus captain with one of these. This is an amazing unit, and I'm currently running 2 squads of 3 in my list because the way 9th edition is playing and the way 9th edition works now, I just feel like it's the most tactical way to get them in the middle of the battlefield on turn 1, and if your opponents don't shoot at them turn 2, you try to shoot at them with them and charge something. Don't need any rule changes other than just literally um, weapon skill 3. Maybe give them an extra attack for that lethality piece that I was talking about earlier. The Red Terror. Here's a model that when I first started looking at Tyranids, the Swallow Whole, he had that ability, he could just swallow an entire model whole. This was back in like 5th edition when I first started playing. And Red Terror was just amazing. I had to have it. And unfortunately, he's not that good anymore. Um, uh, he's just the named Ravener. He can charge. He can deep strike like regular Raveners. He adds hit rolls to all friendly Raveners within 6 inches of him, including himself. So he's actually weapon skill 2, um, which is nice. But the problem is he moves 12 inches. That's great. It's just these poor guys, they get chewed up. They get shot up or they die. They don't really make melee. I think he's appropriately pointed. I don't know. I feel like they should have the Gene Stealer's invulnerable save. Just give them a chance to survive a little bit, shrug off some wounds. There's so much volume of fire. It's just insane. These guys never make it. I mean, I think they're appropriately pointed. I think 55 points for what this guy does is fine. He has a great number of. He has 4 attacks. Uh, he gets 5 attacks because he has double siding talons. So he has 5 attacks. Your Raveners can have up to 4 or 5 attacks apiece. I feel like their attacks are amazing, and you can use stratagems to increase their AP on their attacks. I get it. You can't make every unit have a billion attacks. But what's sad is like a Red Terror and a Ravener have as many attacks as a Hive Tyrant, and that's just not cool. Uh, but I think with them, they just need to have like a 5-up invul, and I think that lightning reflex ability that the Gene Stealers get. Don't be afraid, GW. Give them this ability. Make them last a little bit longer. The Swallow Hole for the Red Terror is kind of interesting. It's going to be, I think, more useful now when it comes to playing Primaris and Terminators being 2 and 3 wounds apiece. I can just swallow whole stuff. But the fact is yeah, I'm going to charge you, swallow whole one of your Terminators probably, and now you're going to hit me with Thunderhammers, and I go bye-bye. Okay, I get it. It is what it is. But um, I think there's utility. I think you can run these right now. The problem is they're just going to get shot off the table. You got to run like 2 squads of 5 each with a Red Terror to even remotely have a chance of seeing them do their work. Tyrant Guard. Here's a model it's severely overcosted for what it does. And the problem with it is its shield wall should be changed to reflect the Tau's ability. The Tau's Savior Protocol is they convert any attack, whether it's a damage 6 las cannon or a bolter, into 1 mortal wound, and they take a mortal wound. That's what Hiveguard or Tyrant Guard should get. They've gotten cheaper. They're 40 points base a model. But if you want to give them like Rending Claws or anything like that, the point cost starts going up. If you give them Crushing Claws, which is junk for them, their cost goes through the roof. You can't give them a gun, which is fine, which is hilarious. They have a ballistic skill, but yet you can't give them a gun. They have 3 attacks. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what this model represents. It's just they should be able to shield wall. They should be able to do exactly what the Savior Protocols do. That way, the Hive Tyrant doesn't die. So right away, or the Swarmlord doesn't die right away. I think that's the only change you got to do on the Tyrant Guard, honestly. Other than that, they're fine. They're just overcosted for what they do. I think they should be 30 points a model, even with that Savior Protocol change if they were to change it. Venomthropes. Here's the most worthless unit in the entire codex, especially now with new terrain rules. I'm thinking about dropping these guys entirely. They hit on 4s, which is crap. They have 2 attacks each, which I get. They're not a melee unit. They don't shoot. So what's their role? I'm going to spend 100 points to give a -1 to hit bubble to my army within 6 inches of them. That they can easily be sniped out and blown away. I don't think so. Especially with new terrain rules. There's lots of dense cover people are shooting through. I think these are on their way out. I think GW needs to give them a special unique rule. Maybe bump them to -2. Like the Lictor ability, make them -2. Because right now they're 100-point tax for something that isn't really worth taking. Um, they're I don't even know what you do with these things. If you guys have any suggestions, please put them in the comments below. Tell me what you think, what we should be doing with Venom Thropes, because I just feel like they're just a joke. They're not super melee. What do you do? Bump them up to 2 or 3 or 4 attacks a piece at weapon skill 3. You know, their lashes, they only have 1 gun, so their ballistic skill should be 3 because it's short range, 6-inch range. They're slapping, you in the face with their tentacles. They should be, actually their ballistic skill, in my opinion, should be on 2+. I mean, their Toxic Masmasia is pretty cool, but this is a unit that will literally die instantly when it charges. I don't know. I'm just at a loss. I think they should be half the points. Where they're at right now, they need to be 50 points for a unit of 3. Armies out there are getting -1 to hit for free, and here we are having to pay, through the teeth for -1 to hit. It's 100 points. That's ridiculous. Our last unit is the Zonaths, and I talked about them briefly in my HQ video when I talked about the Neurothrope. And Zonaths are in a bad state. They can only cast 1 power and deny 1 power, which they've never been able to do that before. They've always used to be able to cast 2 powers. Now they're, and then when the whole deny thing came up, they were immediately allowed to deny 2, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I forget how psychic powers work back then. It's been so long. I think it was just a straight up leadership test. But anyway, you want to keep them at deny 1, that's fine. But their one purpose is psychic ability. So yeah, their weapon skills crap at 4. I think it should be a 5 up, to be honest. They have 1 attack. I get it. Their superiority is their psychic ability. And their psychic is they just smite. So, and you have to have more Zonathropes in order to manifest more powers too. So, for example, they're, I think, 40 points a model right now. No, they're a little bit cheaper than that. What the hell are they? Points per model. What is a Zonathrop points? 45 points a model? Yeah, wow. Holy cow, they're way expensive. They went up in points. They were 40 points per model. It looks like they're 45. Sorry. But if you have 4 or more, you can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each psychic phase and attempt to deny 1. Let's see here. If it suffers a peril warp, it's still D3 mortals, mortal wounds as described in the core rules, but units within 6 inches only suffer damage if perils in the warp causes the last model of the Zonathrope to die. So they need to have their Warp Blast brought back. Warp Blast, they can smite 24 inches, which is garbage. It inflicts an additional D3 mortal wounds on that unit. If the unit contains 4 or more Zonathropes, it's 3 mortal wounds. If it contains 6, or an additional 3 mortal wounds if it contains 6. So, sorry, I misread that. So as long as I take 4 Zonathropes, if I have 4 Zonathropes, which is a lot of points, mind you, they're taking 2d3 mortal wounds. If I take 6 Zonathropes, assuming none of them don't die right away, so that's a huge point commitment, I can inflict D3 plus 3 on a smite. And I can only cast that power once. It's garbage. Warp Blast used to be a lance weapon, strength 10. It would, you blow up tanks with it. Warp Blast, they need to bring back. Well, they can keep Warp Blast like it is. If you want to do that, that's fine. But they need to bring back like the Warp Lance, where each Zonathrope in the unit gets a shot. They hit on 3s. They have a ballistic skill, but they don't even have a gun. Give them a Warp Lance. It's strength 10, AP -3, 3 damage flat. It's a psychic power. They get 1, each Zonathrope in the unit gets to make 1 hit, 1 shot with this weapon profile, the following profile, blah, 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 blah. That's how you make Zonathropes fixed right there. Boom. Alright, guys. that will conclude tonight's video on the state of the Tyranids, the elites. We talked a lot, 30-minute video. Hopefully it's much better than last. And let me know in the comments below what you think of my analysis on Tyranids and where they're at and what they should be as far as regarding elites. And we can mix in the, if you want to continue the discussion with the HQs and the troops as well, by all means, comment below and we'll continue this discussion. We will be moving right along. Our next video will probably be pretty short, much shorter, because we're going to be going into fast attack. And then we got a lot in heavy support. And, well, it's because of the card effects, but then we'll do heavy support. But I think we're going to do fast attack and the flyers. Next video will be fast attack and flyers, since the Harpy and the Hive Crone were literally fast attack before, prior to 8th edition. So anyway, guys, that's it from good old Zaroff here. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you all soon.